You're listening to The Knowledge Spot, your number one resource for sharing information that promotes success, personal development, and happiness. I'm your host, Jared Cherry, and my goal is to shed a light on the strategies, mindsets, and routines that have led to each of my guests' individual success. Thanks for taking the time out of your day to listen, and I hope you enjoy what we have in store. Hey everyone, thanks for listening to this episode of The Knowledge Spot. Today I've got Cletus Seldin, also known as the Hebrew Hammer. He is the WBC International Silver Light Welterweight Champion. And Cletus, man, you got to clear this up for me because it's been bugging the shit out of me. I probably spent about 40 minutes trying to figure out what the hell a silver champion is. Can you just clear that up real quick?
It's actually a title that's pretty much for fighters who are right on the break of breaking that top 20. That's what that kind of title means.
So does that mean you're like 21st ranked?
At the time when I won that title, I wasn't in the top 20 yet. So once I was like right in that middle point where you can't really fight for an international title or you couldn't fight for a world title, I was right at that point where they have a silver title. So I went on and won the silver title, and I kept it and kept defending it. So I won the title, and then I went into top 18, the top 20, hit the top 20. I went to 18, and then my last fight I went to 13, and then yesterday they ranked me at 9 by the WBC, 9th in the world. How you doing?
Man. Congratulations on that, man. So from what I understand, it's basically like, check this guy out, up and comer. This guy has a shot. I got you. And for those of you, my listeners who haven't heard of Cletus yet, like, do yourself a favor, go to YouTube, type in Cletus Seldin, and just watch some of those beautiful knockouts this guy has. The power is crazy on you, man, and I guess listeners should be aware that this power, maybe it's natural, but I mean, let me just go through a bit of your history here. So from what I understand, football player to wrestling to jiu-jitsu to powerlifting to judo to MMA, eventually boxing. Is that correct? Did I miss any sports in there?
That's it. I played a little bit of lacrosse, but that wasn't that big.
Gotcha. So what made you settle on boxing after all those other things?
I was always told and I always believed that one day I was going to be a professional athlete, and I didn't know what sport it was, though. So I tried everything. I was an excellent football player, state championship wrestler. I held the state record in bodybuilding for a deadlift for many years. At 145 pounds, I lifted 470.
Holy shit.
Yeah. I started doing, then I moved on from there into MMA. And then once MMA I found out wasn't legalized in New York and it wasn't really popular at the time, I moved into boxing. And the way that I came into boxing was like a diamond in the rough. A young Jewish white kid who can punch and who has charisma and attitude. It was just that everything just took off right away. So that's pretty much the way it went for me for boxing. I didn't kind of choose it. I pretty much fell into it. If it was up to me, if you asked me 4 years ago, I would always say my heart was always in professional football. I always wanted to be a football player because I was always good at it and I always enjoyed it. And but boxing, on the other hand, though, it's not a whole team of players that you rely on. It's just you and a few coaches, and that is you get more reward in that way than a whole team with 55 kids or whatever it is. So boxing is one of the most premier individual sports that you can get more recognized for and get more of that temptation, satisfying feeling that you want to. This is the sport you want to be to if you want that kind of credit toward yourself, because it's a lot to take in. I remember everybody's gonna be looking at you. Everybody's gonna be saying, is this the person that can handle all this? And especially if you are some kind of hype and some kind of person that people want to look up to, is that going to be the person that can do what everybody's expecting of? So
yeah, I know exactly what you mean too. I remember doing a university project. I was writing a thesis proposal, and I was doing it on not the history of Jewish boxers, but it's been a while. I don't exactly remember the proposal because I never followed through with it. But people would look at me like, "Why boxing?" Like, why aren't you talking about hockey? Why aren't you talking about football? And I just remember going up there, like, we had to do a little presentation, right? And I started off the presentation saying, when I was in high school, I didn't care how fast you ran. I didn't care if you could score a ball in a net or you could kick really hard. I cared if you could punch me in the face. And, still to this day, man, when it comes to sports, I don't follow anything except combat sports.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's exactly what you said to me. It's just, that's the premier level of athletics is in the end, like when you're engaging in athletic activity, it's who's better than who. And what better way to decide who's better than to a fight?
Exactly, exactly. I always tell people that train or start doing boxing just in general, if they're a kid trying to get better at sport, or if it's somebody that wants to get better for fitness. By competing in boxing, whatever sport or whatever you're trying to achieve, you will get that, and that will be the block that transfers you from being an ordinary player to an extreme player, because of you literally need every part of your body to work as one, and the only way you can do that is competing in boxing. To me, like being able to throw punches, play offense, play defense, all simultaneously without being hit and hitting somebody. So I'm all
Right.
for it. And I bet everybody was pretty intrigued that you said boxing out of everything.
Well, yeah, I mean, for a bunch of reasons that we'll get into soon. I do want to say though, real quick, Cletus, I got you on hold. You still there?
Sorry.
Oh, there we go. Sorry about that.
Yeah, my brother, on the other
You
hand,
good
he's
now?
a doctor. He's going to medical school. He's
Right.
out in Dominica, and he's teaching these kids, all these nerdy kids, how to do boxing. And he's like the god there. Like nobody would think that this you go to medical school and my somebody would be teaching a boxing class there. So it's pretty impressive to see you nerdy kids talk about it, and everybody worships you.
Well, that's the thing. It's exactly what you're saying. Is when it comes to, let's take these nerdy kids, these geeky kids, and these are kids that deep down they want some form of confidence. And yeah, team sports are great for that kind of thing. But if you really want to get that self confidence in yourself, literally, then there's nothing better than an individual one-on-one sport or something like a martial art that's it's meant. Boxing's a sport, but to me, it's also a martial art. And to me, that's all about personal development. That's all about learning what you're capable of, what you can push through. Just seeing your own limits, and that's so empowering in my experience, at
Yeah,
least.
absolutely. You don't have a coach saying like favoring another player to prove something. It's not like, oh, the coach always favors this guy. That's whenever I get opportunity. In combat sports, you get that opportunity. You get that that chance to prove everybody wrong, or prove yourself everything. Prove to yourself what everybody else doesn't see, which is very important in building that self confidence. And in your world and in my world, you need that. You need that self confidence where I'm going to choose you over somebody else.
Is that such an important thing to know about yourself? Is like, I would say even through, I dabbled in boxing a little bit. There was a time in my life where I dropped out of school. I had nothing going, and I said, you know what? I was doing karate at some point. I'm like, this is fucking bullshit. How come I'm sparring with black belts and I don't even know what it was, an orange belt, and it was a McDojo basically. So I'm like, I'm gonna try this boxing stuff out, and fuck, man, I failed a lot doing that. I failed a shit ton of times, and I just learned so much through those failures. Like, I still to this day, that was 2010, so almost 6 years ago, and the lessons I learned in that 1 year of my life, I bring them to my everyday life every single
Right.
day.
It's funny you started in 2010. I started boxing, I think around 2008. So that's you can see the difference between how I took it as I'm going to go with it kind of attitude. This is going to be my profession. This is everything. I'm going to put everything into it, and never took a step back. And just look how far I pushed it. Or for a kid who's started boxing, I started boxing at age 22. You don't see that hardly ever. I think Sergio Martinez might be the only one. No one else.
Yeah, it's a rare thing. But people will tell you in combat sports, if you're 22, this kid's old.
Yeah.
They're like, you have been doing this since you're 12, and I come from the world of music too. It's the same shit. I'll have students who are 8 years old and they'll think they're God's gift to the
Right.
drum kits. That's what I teach, right? Because I've been doing this since I'm sorry, they'll be 16 years old. They've been doing it since they're 8, something like that. I know a ton of kids like that. And then, you'll get these 22-year-olds who have never touched the drums in their life, and I tell them like, it really doesn't fucking matter. So what's your headspace going into this? What do you want out of this? And I want to take this back, please, because you mentioned earlier, you're saying at a very young age, you're going, I'm going to be a professional athlete. Where does this come from? It's just you wanted to do it for as long as you can remember, or is this something your parents are pushing on you?
No, my parents never pushed it on me. They always wanted me to play sports because to me, my gateway of getting away from everybody, I had social anxiety, I had ADHD. I was always like a little depressed kid. I didn't really like to talk to nobody. But you put me in a sports and competitive atmosphere, I ate it up and enjoyed every second of it. I always wanted to be the fastest, strongest, never quit kind of attitude ever. If we were playing softball on Father's Day in your backyard, 100% of the time I'm going to come flying around third, and if you're in my way, I'm going to bulldoze you just like Rose. I'm going to bulldoze you on Father's Day, even if you are someone's fault. I don't care. That's how I just played. That's how I always been, and I've always had that same attitude. So that's pretty much
Gotcha.
where
And
it
I
came
think
from.
it's for sure. And I think it's worth saying to listeners that I think if you want to do anything really well, if you found the thing you're interested in, you want to pursue, that's your passion. I think that kind of attitude that you just had, where it's I'm gonna go 100% of the time, most of the time at least, you kind of need that to succeed.
Right. I remember when I first started, my first manager, Ed Gersh, he came to saw me. He actually flew me down to Florida. The guy's was like 90 something years old at the time, been in boxing forever, and he flew me down to Florida. And he saw me sparring, watched my workouts for the week, and said, "All right, I want to sign you." I said, "Well, I'm going to school." He said, "Well, are you going full time?" I said, "No, I'm going part time." He said, "If you're going to do it, anything, you have to always go 100% in." So right then and there, I finished out the semester, which was over in a couple weeks, and became a professional boxer. And I always done it as I'm 100% full-time fighter. Everything else doesn't exist. Everything else takes a step back from that. And just so I have the opportunity to show that I'm giving it all, everything 100%, and I'm doing it as I have no regrets, and I'm not having a fallback plan to push me back from where I'm trying to get to.
Right. And again, just for listeners, I want to say, we just mentioned earlier in this interview, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, powerlifting, judo, MMA. It's not like Cletus, picked one thing, went 100% and it worked out. There's not to say you weren't successful or anything. If anything, you were very successful. But I think it's worth noting that, to find that one thing that's actually going to work for you, you're going to have to keep trying a bunch of other things, putting in that same effort and seeing it fail every now and then. I think it's
Yeah,
necessary.
absolutely. You're absolutely right. And that's exactly what happened. No matter what, whatever I did, I want to give it to all. And look what happens. Now I'm ranked ninth in the world in professional boxing. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, man,
4 years.
exactly. I want to, sorry,
It
go
only
on.
took me 4 years. And I think I'm in my third surgery. So you could probably just say 2.5 years. I came ninth in the world.
That's crazy. And I think again, that same attitude 100%. I think there was one point you had like, what was it? 2 fights in 5 months? It was something crazy, something unheard of these days. You were fighting
My
often.
first six fights
Um,
were in, well, my first 5 fights were in 6 months. My 5 fights were
that's
in
what
six
the
months. I
it's
was,
fucking crazy.
I was on pace and just keep going and going until I got signed. Once I got signed, everything a little cooled down, and we were guaranteed fights. When I was a free agent, pretty much, whoever had a card, I wanted to fight on it. I was like, I'll fight on. I was fighting in Florida, fighting in Brightwood, not Brightwood, is Brighton Beach, fought in
Mm.
Madison Square Garden, started fighting in Paramount, Westbury, wherever I can. I wanted to fight because I knew I'm in shape, and by being in shape and being active, I can keep going and never have to take a step back. The only time I've ever not fought was always the same if I was sick or was injured. If I wasn't sick or injured, I'm ready to fight as much as I want. My goal is for because I'm injured till next year is I want to fight 4 times. If I fight 4 times as a 10 round, soon to be 12 round fighter, that's pretty much twice as much as everybody else. So I'll always
Yeah,
be in better shape than them because I'm working off my last performance, which wasn't too long ago. So you see other fighters, they have maybe 2 fights a year, 3 times. It's a big layoff to me. Just sitting home and just
it
sitting on
is.
your
It
butt.
is.
So to me, I just want to go out there and work off what I've been working on for the past 4 years. So it's not going to waste. And if you even think about it, it's pretty much my entire life span from grade school on of all these um, workouts and these sports that I've done and every little achievement I had in any sport. I'm pretty much still working for my fitness from back then. Um, and like we said before, I started boxing at 22. The one thing I had over everybody else in the sport right now is I don't have a boxer's body. Everyone thinks I'm this freaking humongous like monster in the ring, and everyone always says, "Oh, his physique is so strong that he's just so strong." Well, it's true. I've bodybuild. I've played football. I have state records. I've done bodybuilding shows. I took fifth place in the Eastern USA's, and because I did all that work those years before, I pretty much had an advantage over all these other guys because right now at 140 pounds, there's nobody in the world that's stronger than me. And if you read articles, everyone all agree. I have that advantage of being stronger than everybody else. But
Yeah, no, I believe it for, I mean, 425-pound deadlift at 145 pounds,
470,
man. That's
470.
470. My bad. That's even fucking crazier. Uh, you know, yeah, I can just imagine. Like,
Yeah,
you must know going in the ring the second you touch these guys, I got an advantage right
absolutely.
here. That being said, do you like I think it's safe to say that at some point there's a good chance you might come across someone maybe not as strong as you, but strong as fuck as well. And do you prepare for that kind of thing, or every single match you go in and go in, there's no way this guy's stronger than me?
I pretty much already know that I'm stronger than everyone. But the good thing about me is I played all those sports before. So everybody always thinks I have this one mentality. I'm going there, I'm going to rip your head off, knock you out. You guys haven't seen my last fight. It's actually going to be on September 10th, tomorrow at 8 p.m. And if you see the movement that I've developed in the past 6 months, it's going to be mind-boggling how I switched over from being such a tough, aggressive knockout guy to being more of a energized, flowing kind of fighter. I was doing speed training for 6 months because I'm so good at being so strong that I just worked on technique and I worked on my speed training with my feet. And people that I didn't even know that has known nothing about boxing but just knows about me from seeing me. These are the people that I actually listen to the most. Not
Right.
boxing gurus, not boxing this guy. I like to listen to people who know nothing and only know me from what
Yeah.
they've seen from me in the past. One of the guys that talked to me, his name is Jeff Vaserka. He's actually the owner of North Shore Hematology Oncology, like a big place on Long Island. He owns like 5 of the offices. And he
Gotcha.
said,
Yeah.
that last fight, you were amazing. I never seen movement like that. You look so fast. I was like, it was incredible. And for me, out of everybody that told me something, it was him that caught my eye the most because, like I said, he's a guy who knows nothing. He's only seen me from, he doesn't watch boxing, doesn't know it. He just knows me from coming to my fights. That's it.
Right. It's just like genuine
Yep, and
honesty.
that's exactly. Usually, like my level of every fight, I like to improve just a little bit. After this last fight, people just said you just took a huge step, and it obviously shows. I went from being 18 to 9 in one fight. So
So to you then, you know, I've seen your old fights for sure. I haven't seen this most recent one. I'm gonna check it out tomorrow, no doubt about it. But so it sounds to me like you're saying going from, your old fights is chasing down the guy, boom, here comes the big shot,
right.
he's out. And now, from what I'm hearing, is you've got this emphasis on speed and technique. So to you was kind of straying away from the thing you knew would work. Every fucking time that right
Right.
hand lands, you're gonna knock someone out, right? You're either gonna fall or they're gonna go out cold. And now it seems like you're kind of saying I had other things to work on. So Do you think fighters in general, they need to move away from relying on their power? Do you think there's much more to the game than just the power, even if the power's working so well for them?
Yes, you have to definitely be well diverse in boxing because you can get a guy that can move the entire time. And like, so if you got like a Terrence Crawford, and Terrence Crawford's a really slick kind of fighter, and if you put him
Gotcha.
against Ruslan Provodnikov, a tough, strong Russian, the Russian's never going to hit him. The Russian's never going to ever hit him. He fights on his back feet, and he'll just never be too slow. So you got to be able to change accordingly to the style that you're going to fight. I think maybe one fight ago or maybe a few fights ago, I don't know which one it was, but I knew the guy was going to try to come after me. So I pretty much tried to box him a little bit and bait him in and just rip him with a right hand, and that was the end of the fight. And that actually, I knocked the kid out in I think like 1 round or 2 rounds because I baited him in just because I wanted him to work psychologically, think that he's doing something that that I know that I have advantage of. So psychologically, I let him do it, and then whack, killed him. I think it was Remus Gill. He's one of his highlights are on YouTube. Blasted the guy
Gotcha.
into
So
smithereens.
that's crazy, man. And so now I'm wondering then, so you had that you're saying you kind of played a bit of psychological warfare in there. When you go into the rings, what are some other mental edges that you use in each fight, or is it different depending on each fight? Do you go, are there anything you bring every single
No,
time?
it all goes through like a bunch of stages. So one, you're fighting in New York. New York's uh, scales are 1 pound heavier. So that means you have to lose an extra pound. So every time we go to
Uh,
weigh-ins, it happens every time. The fighter has to go lose another pound, and I'm sitting there. So that's one. Um, Second, you coming into my house. The fans that I bring on Long Island I bring to these events are from my hometown, which is a tough, hard, blue collar kind of thing. And if you're from Long Island, we don't really have any sports. There's no even CW Post. They got rid of their football team, so no one, not even the colleges really have any like sports guys that you can look up to. So when I fight, all these guys come out, and these guys are ruthless, insane fans who will call you whatever they can, racial, homosexual, anything to get on your nerve that you just to get you out of your game plan, where you're literally fighting the crowd, and then you're going to be fighting me. And this is on your way to the ring. So now once
right.
you're in the ring, the whole time people are cheering, ripping you out. I remember the last fight, the kid literally was looking at the crowd, and I'm like, is this kid crazy? I'm about to kill him. And he's looking at the crowd, giving them whatever. And it happens every fight, and right then and there, it happens. Like I said, it happens all the time. Every fight, these kids play into a ruthless like I always say, it's like the Paramount's like a little Roman Coliseum because the place is literally like shaking because these people
Right.
scream so loud and they're insane.
So let's switch it up for a second. Let's say, okay, now you got a fight in Cuba and your friends can't make it there, and the crowd's doing the same thing to you. What kind of mindset do you suggest for fighters going into that situation? Is it simple as block them out, or do you got to listen and kind of,
You have
you
to put
know,
a shield that blocks everything out, 100%. I have the same ability to kind of do it because listen, I'm trying to fight too, and these people are literally cheering my name, they're cursing this guy out, and they're saying
uh,
all these things, and the only voice I always hear is just my trainer's voice. Move to your right. Pete Brodsky is like a legendary trainer to me. He's like, move to your right. Shift over. One, two. That's the only voice I hear the entire time. Nothing else. That's
it's fascinating to me because I watch a lot of MMA, and it seems like all the best fighters say the exact same thing as you. They go, when I'm in there, I'm only hearing two things. Um, sorry, one thing, my corner.
it.
That's all they're hearing,
That's all
and
you hear.
it seems like that's a common trait right there.
Yeah, it's psychologically you have to be very strong to do that. Just to be able to hear one voice of someone. One thing I don't like is and never happened to me is someone in the corner screaming at me. No one's like screaming at you because it's I'm not that kind of fighter. I'm more of a this is my job. I'm gonna do it. Have faith and let's work together. There's no need to yell at me. That time that comes, I've been yelled at once or twice in sparring. I know when to switch it. But everybody knows you just don't scream and yell because it's not going to do anything. Because when you start screaming and yelling, it's not going to mean anything by then. So everyone knows to be nice, calm, compact, ready to go.
I guess that's just it proves that if you want to be a successful fighter, your coaches and your trainers and everyone else around you, they got to know you just as well and know what works for you and how you will succeed personally.
Absolutely, you need to believe in everyone that's around you, and that's not just in boxing. That's in life. If you want to be successful, you need to surround yourself with people that you believe in, people that you inspire, and that inspire you too. So if you have those all together, you will be successful not just in whatever you're going to become. You're going to be successful with your family, obviously your job, your career, and everyone around you. So I'm 100%. I believe if my trainer says this, I do it. If I say something, they say it back. And the only way that happens if you believe. If you don't believe, it's never going to work ever.
So, what advice would you give to some of my listeners who's, let's say, they're in a situation where let's say they know this guy for 10 years of their life, they went through school together, and this guy happens to be in a horrible place right now, and that belief you're talking about just isn't there. You go hang around this guy, and it's kind of depressing, and, it's just a real bummer, and you love the guy, like it's a close friend, let's say, but deep down, he's holding me back, he or she's holding me back. Would you tell people, like, you got to cut the chain here and you just move on, or would you call that abandoning someone?
If it was me personally, if I know you're not doing the right thing, and you want to be established with me and you're doing it wrong, I pretty much would just cut you out of that, of being in a relationship with me, because you don't have the qualifications, you could call it, to stay with me and be as strong as I am. I don't want no sheep in my lines then, pretty much. And I want to be the strongest team that I can find. If you're going through whatever you did and you need someone to talk to, that's not a problem. But don't be coming over here asking me for this for a few things that I know you're not going to do the right thing with. Um, Also, if now on the other side, other way, if that person went out of their way and started improving, and I heard good things about them, I would definitely welcome them back into my life slowly, and make them work for what they want. They want to be part of my life. I'm trying to be the most successful person that I can be, and if they're on the same page as that, they can slowly work their way into my life. I'm not going to let them full blown right back in, hurt everyone around me because of that.
I love how you say that, and if it wasn't obvious enough already, like that example is something that's personally happened to me where I found myself at a point in my life where the people around me, it just wasn't clicking, something wasn't working, and I did exactly what you said, and I said, you know what, like this isn't working, I gotta move on, and it called me Friday night, nah man, I don't want to come out
Right.
tonight. That happened with me, and the thing that I got attacked for some of that, like some people said, oh, you're not a good friend, you're not this and that, and to me, I never saw it that way because I felt like by 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 making the separation here, not babying you and not taking care of you when you got to learn to take care of yourself, I felt like I was making those friends stronger, and I'm finding that over time I was right to believe that. So I just want to tell listeners, I got into podcasts basically because everyone around me was a fucking idiot and I couldn't have a good conversation. So I would turn on Joe Rogan's podcast and they were talking about shit I wanted to talk about, and go to my friends and they're talking about marijuana and alcohol. You know what I mean? So I, I'm just stressing for listeners, there's so much truth in what Cletus is saying, that the people you surround yourself with, I think there's a scientific study where they go like you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, and I suggest to every listener, find out what that average is. What does that make you look like, and decide if you like it or not.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually went through the same thing. I was 16 years old, smoking weed with my friends, hanging out,
Right,
doing
right.
everything that every teenager would do at 16 years old. Anything, get away with anything. You think you're king of the world. I had really good friends, kids I played sports with every day. My friend, his parents owned two yards. They ripped down all the trees and had a baseball field in the background.
Wow.
They had a miniature golf course, an in-ground pool, had everything.
Whew.
But on the other hand, now I'm hanging out with all these kids. I'm smoking weed with their uncles. I'm doing all these things that I shouldn't have been doing. But to me, that's what everyone's doing. That's what I want to do, right? All of a sudden, next thing you know, I get in some trouble with a few kids that we're hanging out with, and we did something wrong, and we got caught. And I had to make a stand in my life. Do I want to continue being these kind of friends with these kids? Or am I just going to cut everybody off out of my life completely? And that's what I did. And because of that, I became more self-efficient pretty much. I did everything on my own. I didn't need any friends. I still haven't had, I think I still have 2 friends that I got years later. But in my life right now, I have 2 friends that I can consider good.
It looks like something went off. Just
Yeah.
give us a second,
Nope.
your listeners.
Nope.
Okay, he's back
Nobody
now.
else. Those are the only people I intrigued to keep myself with, and they're very successful people. Now, if I look back on the kids that I actually got away from, most of them either joined the military, which where I'm from, you either join the military or you became like a mechanic. That was pretty much where that's it. So, and that's what they became, and there's nothing wrong with it. But they didn't want what I wanted, and I wanted a little bit more. Out of say there was 20 kids that we hung out with, maybe 2 of them became something pretty impressive. I know one became a Suffolk County Police Department cop. The others, honestly, just became average people that have 2 or 3 kids now, married, they're happy in their kind of life. But I bet you if they can do it all over again, they would start over, because at the end of the day, if you ask any successful adult how many best friends and how many friends they have, they're always going to say no more than 3 every time.
Exactly. You hit the hammer on the nail right there. It reminds me of this guy. I know he has. I don't have Facebook, but he's one of those guys who's always on his phone, always checking his Twitter, his Facebook, and I don't know how many. Let's say he has like 500 friends on Facebook, whatever. He's constantly messaging all these guys. And I'm just going, how well can you possibly know all these people that they're sucking up this much time for you? And I'm in a similar spot to you where right now, outside of my girlfriend, I probably have 2 or 3 really close people that I know I can call in a heartbeat and have a good time with, or get something off my shoulder, something like that. And to me, it's so much better than having a bunch of acquaintances.
Absolutely. I'm a guy who I was in a relationship for 10 years, and I never had it. I couldn't even talk to my person that I was with. I didn't have that person that I can let go of
Wow.
everything. So when I first started boxing, my coach at the time, still my coach, Pete Brodsky, he was literally like, "What's wrong? Why don't talk?" I don't talk to nobody. That's the way I've always was. I never talked to anybody. My 2 friends that I have, those are the people that I can go to express things that are not really too inside, but I can go there and not have
Right.
to talk about anything that's going wrong with me, which is very important also. Because you have someone to go, you always have someone that'll answer your phone to just bullshit and talk to. You don't have to sit there and tell me about your problem kind of thing, because
Right.
that sucks. Fuck, that sucks. I don't want to be. I don't want my friends to be like, oh, come on. Even though like they're my best kind of friends, but I'm like, I don't want our relationship to be based off that really. But if there's like a little small situation, like, oh, this girl's doing this, we talk about that. But they're not my therapist. I go to therapist for that.
Right.
But
Right. Yeah, I
yeah.
hear you. I want to take it back a little bit, Cleason. If you don't want to talk about this, I always tell guests it's fine. I understand it's personal, but you mentioned earlier, there was this time in your life where you were a depressed kid, ADHD, a bunch of things that a lot of doctors these days would label as bad,
Right.
basically. And I want to, could you expand on that? Could you maybe make it a little more specific, like what exactly was
All right.
going on?
So ever since I was a kid, I came from a semi-broken home, um, and one of the poorest kids in my school district, in a tough blue-collar town. Um, at the time, my brother, who is pretty much a doctor, is this genius, And I never wanted to follow in his shoes because he's always good at that. But my parents, on the other hand, very strict. My mother, she's a little bit of a hoarder. She has bipolar. I come from somewhat of a broken home, and when growing up, I didn't know until after high school that I had this ADHD problem, this ADD problem, that I can't sit there and focus because I would go to school every day, and I would wonder why. Someone asked me to read a book, I could read the whole chapter and not remember one thing, or I could read a page and not tell you one thing about it. So that always gave me a little edge, and nobody ever understood it when they asked my parents if I wanted to put them on medication. Oh, my kid never does. My kid doesn't need it. I don't put my kids on whatever. The typical 1960s, 70s, 80s, early 90s kind of parent. That's how it is. That's the law. My kids don't do that. I was in behavior classes. I was the only white kid in the black classes for not because I was a bad kid. It was just because I just couldn't focus and work in an environment where all the other kids worked. So I pretty much went to school every day to just see if I can what can we go to school to go eat, because we always got free lunch, always got free food, and we always got sports were there, and obviously a girlfriend always at the time, right? So that's pretty much where I came, and that's how I pretty much became a bad kid. I didn't know any of this stuff because I didn't know what was wrong with me. After high school, though, I went to go see a psychiatrist, a doctor, and I brought them all my medical records from school, and they're like, you have ADHD, you have ADD, and we can help you with that. And from that moment on, when I started taking the medication that I was supposed to have, I enjoyed life a lot more than what I was. So I was very mean and angry, but if I wanted to be nice and caring and thoughtful or motivated, I can be at the same time. Like still today, you can get me and I'll be a very mean, nasty person because I want to be, not because I have to be. Like that kind of person. Doesn't control me, I control it now, which is so much better than what it used to be. And like you said, too, having those one or two people to speak to. Now I have a new girlfriend. She was in the Army for 8 years. She somewhat kind of lived the kind of life I did because she went to Iraq. She's been in Afghanistan. She's been in she's kind of living a somewhat. I'm not gonna say that her job was definitely much more realistic and crazy, but she had that same kind of career almost, where you just woke up, trained, did your kind of job, and that's how you did it.
Yeah.
And she's more the person that I became best friends with and then dated kind of person. I became really good friends with her and then dated her. And if I have anything that's going on, she knows. And she knows when to give me my space sometimes, right?
Right.
And she's the person that where I now.
Again, it looks like his phone keeps on taking too long.
Every time I get a call, it literally goes to my iPad, which is annoying.
Oh, that's what's happening there. Gotcha.
So she's literally the person where I go to that has released everything around me and I have became such a better fighter, because I used to go to every time I went to the ring, I was like, all right, I have to be the most meanest, nastiest person I can find and bring that person in the ring. And I did that, and I would kill people. But all of a sudden, his girlfriend comes around and loosens me up, I would say. I'm able to talk more. I can go to colleges. I speak at colleges. I can go to do things that I never did or never thought of because she loosened me up. And I have such a somewhat an intriguing story how everything started. So everybody wanted to come hear me, and now I'm getting more popular with the boxing and everything. So she, to me, and if you ask my team, they're pretty much the ones that said this first, was because of her, she has made this entire team better. And she's pretty much the reason why everything has been flowing the way it has. So thank you, Miss Brittany Boyd, Sergeant Brittany Boyd.
And that's wonderful to hear, man. And I think anyone who is in a relationship, you mentioned before, and I have no business saying this, and I don't know your history exactly, but you mentioned that you were in a relationship at one point where it didn't sound like you could really talk to her about anything, and now you're in a relationship that started off as genuine friendship. And I would advise all listeners, approach your relationship from that aspect where, my girlfriend's my best friend. Plain and simple, like similar to you, like she helps me with things and I help her with things, and we're friends. There's more than just a sexual attraction there. I think that's so key that I've seen so many relationships that are based on the fact that the girl's hot, and the guy just wants to get his dick sucked, and that's only going to get you so far.
Yeah, absolutely. I would. So I went from being in a 10-year relationship to going, oh man, I'm never dating ever again. I'm gonna fuck the world, ugly, whatever, fuck
Right.
everybody. I was single for, I think, for 3 months, and I could get with any girl I want or whatever I wanted, and none of that intrigued me at all. I didn't want, I didn't want none of this. I don't want nothing that everybody else wanted. Like if the girl's hot, honestly, I don't want to fuck this hot girl that everybody else fucked. That's disgusting. I don't want what she has. Everybody has AIDS. I don't want to touch them. And I was always intrigued to myself because I was with that one girl that my game plan was simple. I'm going to go out there and treat myself what I am. I am a action figure, a collectible action figure that's been put out of a display case, touched with once, and put back. So I was at the point where I know that I have I have something over everybody else. I have something that everybody else wants, and I'm not going to give them at all. I'm going to stay single. I'm going to do that, and then next thing you know, Brittany Boyd comes into my life, and I treated her just like I treated everyone else. But she had something that intrigued me, and her nonstop effort to wanting to date me, and her nonstop effort of me respecting a person, because she came into my life where, like I said, I just came out of a 10-year relationship.
Right.
I don't want to get in a relationship, and she knew that, and I obviously she knew she 100 respected that, but I'd seen that it was an opportunity at my time after hanging out for 3 months and doing all these things that had zero satisfaction to me. Like all the other girls, everyone I was hanging out with just get me fat. I'm just going to eat, drink, get fat, eat, drink, get fat, whatever. And that's wasting my time. But she came into my life, and this is how I pretty much brought it to myself. Because I like, obviously, we all talk to ourselves the most, right? And before I make a
Yep.
decision, to me, I have to go through it a few times. I don't know if it's because I'm Jewish or what. I don't know. I just do it. I have to do it. And I came up with this. I said, the timing is not right at all. Just came out of a 10-year relationship. But this girl is the girl that everyone respects, because you don't really find too many women that are respected by men. She
True.
used to she was the only female in I think she was in Afghanistan, on a military base where everybody respected. She was military police, and she was a gunner on a 50 cal. So she was a
Wow.
woman that everybody respected. She was from the same neighborhood that I'm from, so we kind of have that same kind of attitude, and that
Right.
she possibly could be the one that one day that I would want everything in one right now. But this timing is so bad. So I literally thought about it, and next thing you know, I took the chance, and when I told her right off the bat, 'cause she was like shocked by it, and she probably thought I didn't mean it, but I was like, I'm telling you now, when I date somebody or when I do anything, I'm going to give you 100% of me at all times. You're going to get 100%. I never do anything half-ass. And for some reason, that's the kind of guy that she actually looks for. She looks for people that are very successful. She said this. I always learned this from her. She said you can judge somebody on how they go to work every day and how they complete their job. So if
So
you're
true.
dating somebody who's he's lazy, he doesn't want to go to work, he's late, he never looks professional when he goes to work, that's not the kind of guy that she was interested in. So she was looking for this really professional guy, and I always thought about that. You always judge somebody off on how they do their job, right?
Right.
And she literally came into my life, and it's been a home run. I'm 100% glad that I took that decision instead of hanging out trying to hook up with all these dirty little
Yeah.
whores. Literally, you can find them. I go running all the time. You can see them just coming out like a little pack of wolves. I'm like, oh my god.
And this is so interesting to me, man, because I'm from Toronto, so not that far
Mm.
from you. And I think of, in our culture amongst young men right now, there's this really bad misconception going around that the only reason a young man is on this planet is to fuck. And they back it up with science. It's like, oh, what's the point of life? We're here, evolution, spread the seed, blah, 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 blah. And I know so many guys around my age who every single day of their life, all they're looking for is the next hot girl to fuck. And
That is it's ridiculous to think of that, of how everybody else sees everything. I believe the same thing. I feel like every guy I meet, every one I want to talk to that's pretty much younger than me, all they want to do is get laid. Um, and I am going to take this fall. I'm probably going to get yelled at by someone. Uh, and probably a lot of people are going to respect what I say, though. I'm going to put this more on the parenting of how you raised your child. If you raised your child to be more of a person where you pretty much still pay their cell phone bill and they're 25 years old and they live at home,
mm,
they have no other opportunity or nothing else on their mind besides going out and go fuck girls, because they have no responsibility of doing anything. I never had that opportunity. I grew up not. I had to work for everything. Everything I own, everything I bought it because I fought for it and I trained my ass off for it. So that was more important to me than go and fuck your neighbor or go fuck the girls down the block. That's doesn't interest me at all. And I can say that because it comes down to it. The parenting I had to do everything on my own. I had to do everything on my own, and I had that drive, you can say, too. So I did everything on my own, and I had that drive to want to achieve. So you put those two things together, you don't got no time to be trying to fuck around with girls, um, ever. Yeah, you just don't have that in you. It's a waste of time, waste of money, and in my sport, in my profession, more work that I need to do that I don't want. It's not fun.
exactly. And I love how you bring it to the parenting, and I think I would be in total agreement with you, man. It's kids that are handed stuff on a silver platter. It's no coincidence that they're the ones that you see it all the time. They're the ones that get heavy into drugs or whatever. And in this specific case, sex can be a goddamn easy drug, man. And for virgins, this is hard to say because they might see sex as the holy grail, right? But whenever your time comes, you're gonna realize, yeah, it's fucking amazing, but there's so much more to life. And I think the mistake a lot of those guys get into, just like you said, they don't have any drive or anything, and all sex is a quick release, just like a shot of vodka or snorting some cocaine, a quick, easy, instant gratification. Boom.
Yeah, that's it. It's every time it's over. I'm like, all right, see you later. My girlfriend, I'm like, all right, we got that whole thing played out. We all got a cast. We got a cast out. We got to see what we're gonna say. We got everything. We dressed up and everything. And next thing you know, boom. I'm
Done.
like, all right, see you later. Where's the controller? Where's the iPad and where's my PC controller? I'm done.
Exactly.
And I
And
have that's why it kind of pisses you off to see how somebody would cheat on somebody who's like, you love them. So you're married, and your wife goes cheats on you, and for what? It's just that quick second. That's what you
yeah.
wanted. What now? And then you went home to your husband, or you went home to your wife, and that was it. Like, it is not worth it. You can lose your entire life over that. And to me, I am a loyal, honest man. I believe my girlfriend is the same way. And if you can find someone that's like that, I'm not going to say like you, because some people don't have that. So some
Right.
people, you don't want to find that person that's like you. I actually when my first relationship, I found a person that was totally opposite of me. Money, great family, did everything by the book. Don't cheat on no taxes, don't steal, don't do nothing. That's what I thought it was everything. Worst thing ever. Because if you get two opposite people together, at some point, those opposites are gonna. It's like on a train. They're pulling in two different directions, and that tension's gonna snap. And once that snaps, it's never gonna be brought back. So this time, I found a girl that was just like me, and God, perfect, perfect, beautiful thing. I never have to worry about, oh, is she doing something like this? Is that gonna happen? Yeah, if there's a slight chance, maybe one day, I don't know. But as of right now, there's not. I have the same mindset she has. So it works beautifully that way. So good luck.
I love
Good
this,
luck
man.
for
Yeah,
that
good luck
person.
to exactly. I love this went to the relationship podcast and I'm enjoying it, but I want to step
All
back for a
right.
second. When I introduce you, Cletus the Hebrew Hammer Seldin, and I had a former not former Holocaust survivor on one of the earlier episodes, Gerda Freiberg, and I asked her, I said, it seems like no matter what you do in your life, that part of your life, the Holocaust, being Jewish, people are always going to label it on you. And I'm thinking with you too, in the world of boxing, it's not going to matter what you do. They're always going to see you, as you said, the white Jewish kid. And I'm wondering, first of all, do you think that's right? Do you embrace it? Or is this something you fight
I
against?
usually embrace it because I'm in a sport where everything is pretty much off minority. If a Puerto Rican is fighting, all the Puerto Ricans come out. If a Irish is fighting, all the Irish people come out. So now we're looking at the time of period now. So that's always been the past of boxing. Everybody, if that person's that, boom, that person came out. Now we're in a time period
Right.
where there is no Jewish boxers, really, right? There's not too many white boxers. There's not too many white Jewish American boxers or just white American boxers. So now you put that together in a sport that always came off of being whatever ethnicity you were, and
Right.
it has come to me to build a something to build off of so much stronger than the average athletes that are in boxing today. So to me, I always embrace it, and I know that I'm a kid that can actually back it up too. I'm a white Jewish kid from Long Island that can punch a damn block off, and I'm gonna work as hard as I can every single day, as long as I can for this sport. But though, as soon as mentally or physically I can't do it no more, I'll stop. But before then, no, you're gonna have a tough time in the ring with me, and you have a problem trying to beat me in the broadcasting, we'll say, world, because you're not going to outtalk me.
And I heard you say in another interview, you go, every single fight I've been in, at least at this point, I think this interview is from a couple of years ago, and you go, every single fight I've been into up to now, my opponents see me as the underdog because they think they're going up a white Jewish kid, and they don't even know what that means, right? To them, the stereotypes come to mind. And certainly, fighter in 2015 probably doesn't come to mind for a lot of people when they think of a Jewish guy, right?
Absolutely not. I always make a joke. Actually, this is usually my biggest joke that I always play out. When people say you're a Jewish kid and you box, I go, yeah, we got so you can take all the Jewish athletes and you can pretty much put them on like a menu, You just literally like a
Yeah.
menu. You can like flip it over. All right, there they all are. Okay, good. Now you can take an Italian, African American, whatever. You got an encyclopedia. You got a. You go through all these athletes. So that's pretty much the athletes of being Jewish is. It's like you are a rare gem, and in the world of boxing, yet though I'm going to say yet, I haven't got the full amount of Jewish people that I want because not too many people even know to even look for one. They don't
Not
even
at all,
find
man.
to even find one. They're like, you don't even. I didn't even know who you were. But once they find out who you are, boom, they hop right on, and then they see me fight, and they're like, whoa, this kid is definitely different. Because everybody heard of Dimitri Salita, Yuri Foreman, more of
Yeah.
a point.
Technical,
scoring
yeah.
points. Kind of, I'm in your face. I'm ready to blast you. I'm like an old school rock, like a Rocky Marciano kind of guy, like wants to bulldoze you. But now I add a little finesse to it, and I am on the ball, ready to go. So.
And man, I appreciate that you do that kind of thing so much because I know when I was younger. So I grew up in a Jewish household, and when I say Jewish household, I mean we celebrated Hanukkah and all that stuff. But I can't speak a word of Hebrew or Yiddish. I'm not religious in the least bit, but culturally, my family identified as
Right.
Jewish, right? And I'm from Toronto, like I said before, very kind of like New York. We got a shit ton of ethnicities here. And it seemed like no matter what I did once I started high school, people looked at me as the Jewish
Right.
kid.
Right.
There was no escaping it. And for the longest time, man, I'm a young, stupid kid. That made me feel
Mm-hmm.
horrible because I didn't have anyone to look up to. I was looking for guys like you, like where the fuck's these strong guys? And thank God for fucking Wikipedia, man. Like it's like you said, you get a menu and you're like, oh, Barney
Yeah. Yeah.
Ross. Wait, isn't this the guy from The Expendables? Wait, Sylvester Stallone's that much of a badass that he knows boxing from back then, and he's naming his character after Barney Ross. And yeah, man, I love how you're doing this, and you know, still to this day, when people ask me where I'm from, it's the most annoying fucking question in Canada you can get because Canadians aren't like Americans, right? In America, they call it the melting pot, right? So all you guys go, I'm American,
Right.
right? In Canada, you ask anyone, I'm Italian. I'm Thai.
No.
They always say like what country their family came from years ago, right? Um, so for me, it's the worst fucking question in the world because my family's been in Canada for hundreds of years. We were some of the first Jewish immigrants to come here, and yeah, I have nothing against Judaism, and I'm proud of where I came from. But other than the fact that I celebrate Hanukkah, there's not much Jewish to me.
Exactly. Same. Same.
Eh, Right, and again, when people are asking me this question, all they want me to say is I'm Jewish. I know it. I know already. They want me to say I'm Jewish because I look like a Jew, right? I got dark hair, Um, so I gotta again, like I'm saying, where I'm going with this is just I really appreciate guys like you who, you're Jewish, but you're not fucking Dimitri Salita Jewish. You're not fighting on Sabbath and things like that,
Right.
and you still embrace it. And you give kids who need a role model like that, like I did at one point in my life, you give someone to look up to. So thank you for that, man.
Thank you. No problem. It pretty much came from how I was brought up. I was brought up. My parents, my dad went to Jewish school. I don't like that's how much Jewish I know. I don't even know what school he went to. He went to school, grew up there. He grew up very tough. His father was Jewish, obviously. His mother was Jewish, and I had my bar mitzvah, of course. But from I pretty much say I'm as Jewish as you are Catholic or Christian to people. I go to temple as probably twice as much as you do that you go to church. So if they ever bring this point up to me, and I go, you know how many times that is? I went to a death recently, so I've gone maybe
Right.
100% more than you have because I went to the temple to see to that time because people today I probably know maybe one or two people that go to church every Sunday. So everybody else, you can't really say you're a Christian or a Catholic kind of person to me or a Jewish person unless you do that. You can't just say, "Oh, I don't like you because you're Jewish," and that's that because they don't go. I go to church. I mean, the synagogue wants to go to church. I go literally weddings and if it's a funeral, that's it, pretty much. But I love to represent where I'm from. This is my blood. This is where my history comes from, my ancestors, and you'll never be able to take that from me. And I always will respect anyone who's never scared to live that. And once in a while, you hear me talk about how proud I am and make jokes on being Jewish, knowing that we are the smartest, money making, I can't help but run everything kind of person. Jokingly, of course, but that's the person I am, and I've always spoken how I feel, the truth. No one ever told me that I can't say something, so I've always spoken that way, and
So
that's that.
sorry to interrupt. I'm just wondering, so all that being said, when you're first starting to get into athletics, I'm guessing around high school, things like that, I'm imagining that people used the Jewish background against you any chance they could. Is that wrong to
No,
assume?
absolutely. That's exactly how the world, especially, how old are you?
I'm
So
24
you
years old.
pretty much grew up same kind of era I grew up, and
Right.
for some reason, I don't know why, people's parents have taught their kids not to like Jewish kids. I don't know what it was. So I literally went online a few years ago and Googled why don't people like Jewish kids? They're like, oh well, back in like the early days, the we gave all the money to the Jewish people and they kept it, and there was just all this bullshit. Like, not one real reason why you would not like.
Right.
There's no reason not to. We're the ones that kind of we went through slavery. We've done through world more nastier things than people literally try to erase us pretty much. We didn't go out there go work or anything. They want to erase us, right? So I don't know why people have that wall up, especially up to high school. It wasn't until after high school that it all went away. But in high school, all the way up, I'm the Jewish kid. The good thing is I could fight, so everybody knew that. So no one messed with me. But there
Right.
was no reason why those people didn't like me. I don't know. I never understand why they always had that. Oh, that's the Jewish kid. It never made any sense to me.
It's the saddest thing in the world to me, man. And I'm sure African Americans, Asian Americans, any other minority group knows exactly what we say okay, so I dropped out of school like I told you, and I was boxing for the year, but I was also working a full-time job at a grocery in the back, just unloading the trucks and stacking boxes, that kind of bullshit. And the guys that worked there with me, just like everything else in life, I'm the only Jewish guy. The rest of them are Cambodian or they're Spanish. They're guys that you typically, stereotypically, assign to a job like that. And one of the worst days of my life I'll never forget is I don't know how it came out, but they found out I'm Jewish, and the change was it was so sad for me where all of a sudden I was just
Mm-hmm.
hated. Like they didn't want to associate with me. They any chance they could to make fun of me, they would, and it was just I was like, what is this? What the fuck's going on? Why does this matter so much? So how could we click? We were getting along fine, for a year I worked that job, and then out of nowhere they found out this little piece of me that's not even a big part of me, and it changes everything. And African Americans could say the same thing happens to them every day, I'm sure, and Asian Americans as well, and any other minority. And I think it is what you said, man. It's the past. It's the parents who are raising these kids who grew up in all white neighborhoods, and they never even fucking met a Jewish kid or
Right.
a black kid in their life. They have no idea what to expect, and oh, man, I've got a bunch of stories coming to my head. I'm just thinking, I was at my girlfriend's cottage last week, and her father was talking about the will, right? Because they're getting ready to pass that shit on, and he goes, "You're not gonna believe what I saw in the will." So they've owned this cottage for since the 40s, right? Her grandfather built it after the war, and in the fucking will, man, it says, this land cannot be owned by Jews, blacks, or Asians. It's like, what the fuck? You've never even met there wasn't that many of those guys in the 40s anyways. What's your business with this? Like, where's this coming from, man? It's pure ignorance. That's
Yeah.
how I see it. It's pure. You've never met this before. You're fucking scared for whatever reason, and it's the saddest thing in the world to me. Honestly, my biggest pet peeve, and I'm going on a rant here because it means so much to me, is I hate when someone makes fun of someone or hates someone because of the way they're born. To me, that's the weakest cowardly attitude you can have in the world, is hating someone because of the way they were born.
Yeah, absolutely. I always judge anybody, especially in this sport, my profession. Because I always meet a lot of people now, I always judge that person off that person. Like I'm around African Americans, Asians, whites, all over the world. I'm with them all the time. If I go to a boxing gym, I'm the only white kid. But what I do is I always have to grade those people on how I meet them and how they would. I also make sure that I want to see how those people act when I am not around and when they were with their friends. So that's
Right.
how another way I would always judge somebody. 100% because I know as soon as I'm gone, I can look over, they can do their own thing, and that pisses me off. And then that person's on the you don't come back list after that. And then once that happens, it's over.
Exactly, and I got nothing but respect for people who think like you. And I don't know what it is, sometimes I'll see someone and I'll go like, "Fuck, I don't want to talk to this guy. He looks like a fucking idiot." And then I end up talking to him as the fucking coolest guy in the world. And I'm really adamant on don't judge a book by its cover, and don't hate blindly. It's gonna get you nowhere in life. You're gonna burn bridges, and that's it. That's it. I don't even want to go anywhere else with this.
Exactly. That's it's the only way to do it. Because you can get the guy that's in he could be in his suit, or he can be a guy laying on the ground. And most of the time, the guy on the ground is pretty much going to help you out more than the guy in the suit.
So true. Cletus, man, I know you're a busy guy. I want to thank you again for being on here and doing what you're doing, man. I'm gonna be watching your fight tomorrow. I got something to do, and then I'm gonna come home and I'm gonna watch that fight for sure. And I'll be cheering you on as you go, man. I'm so excited. I do these interviews. I've never met Cletus before. I didn't know what to expect, and I'm happy to say that I was rooting for him in fights because he's the Jewish guy, and we're only human, and you got to give him a little one up for that. But I'm so happy to say, man, that you're way more than that too. You're just a genuinely cool guy, and thank you again so much for being here, dude.
Thank you. You guys can follow me on my Instagram. It's the Bear Jew USA, or you can put in Cletus Seldin, and same thing on Twitter. So anytime you guys want to talk, give me a holler, and I'll be more than welcome to be back on your show. Thank you.
Awesome, man, and best of luck in the future. I'll be rooting for you, dude. Take it easy, and thank you again.
Take care, buddy. Bye.
That's it for today's episode. If you guys like what you heard, follow us on Twitter at _theKspot.net, search for The Knowledge Spot on Facebook or SoundCloud, or check us out at www.thekspot.net. Lastly, if you guys have any questions for me, I plan on doing my own personal Q&A sessions through YouTube, so email me at contact@thekspot.net.